channel where we Hi moms, I am Yandi and welcome to the Mamahood experience, a channel where we inspire, uplift everyday moms who are raising tomorrow's generation while pursuing their dreams. So I have been gone for a long time. A lot has happened, life has happened the past month or so. So yeah, I'm back. An update from my side. Firstly, the kids have gone back to school. Yay for me. The kids went back to school 1st of September. My husband and I, we evaluated a lot of things and we finally agreed it's best that they go back to school, and they are happy to be back at school also. They're connected with friends, with teachers, and also they love that environment. They love their school, so they're back at school. Secondly, I've picked up a couple of jobs. I work on a freelance/consulting basis. So I've picked up several projects that I'm working on, so that has kept me quite busy. And the last one is recently, I think about a week or so, I visited my mom in PE. She's not well, so we had to go see how she's doing, and which leads me into today's video, lessons I have learned from my mother. I'm going to talk more about that. Before I get to it, please like, subscribe, and comment down below also what are the lessons that you've also learned from your mother. Yeah, let's get to it. So a bit of context about my mother and how I grew up. My parents divorced when I was 2, so my mother raised the 4 of us all alone, and so this kind of informs her, I think, her parenting style and just the person that she became, in a good way though. So the first lesson that I learned from my mother was her belief in God. My mother has a relationship with God. She's a born-again Christian, and her belief in God is something that she transferred, and I learned from her. As a single parent with a single income household, sometimes life can be lived under survival mode, and a lot of things can be happening around. But having an anchor, and in whatever situation that we were in, and in whatever challenges that my mother came across, I always saw the hand of God in her life and also in our family's life. And she just did not do the Sunday thing only. It was a lifestyle to her. The things that, the relationship that she had with God was something that I saw like physically in our lives. It was a lived thing, whether it be through the things that she did within the community. I'll talk about all of the other stuff later. But it was truly a lived thing. It's one thing to say that I'm a Christian and I go to church on a Sunday, but with her, truly, she lived it. She lives it every day. It informs how she thinks, she behaves, she treats people, which is quite a good thing. And it's something that I have also developed and have a relationship with God as well. The second thing that I learned from my mother, which is quite key, is being a giver. So I'll talk about the fact that, like, in our household, living in a single household income, life was normally quite hard, and there usually was a lack of resources and income. But with that said, my mother really never knew that even in her position there was someone like who had less than her, and with what she had, she was able to give opportunities to other people. For example, she would take on family members who needed an opportunity, whether in the form of studying further, or who needed an opportunity to come to our city for a job opportunity. She would always help people within, like, her family members who needed a come up or a starter, um, whether it be education or work. Like, she would house them, help them up until they flourished. There were some people who took that opportunity and completely flew with it and, like, bettered their lives and built, like, a successful life from that. And there's some people who really squandered the opportunity and who didn't make much of it. But she really, really um, had a giving hand of knowing that as much as I don't have much, but I really do have something to give and to help another person. And with that as well, within our church and our community, she would always identify someone who did not have much. For example, she would, like, month end, she would do her grocery shopping. She would do, like, the household grocery shopping. And with that, like, she would identify, let's say, a family within our church or maybe within our area who at the time was struggling. And she would just, like, call, like, one of the ladies over for, like, a visit and whatever. And before she left, she'd be like, oh no, I've got something for you. And she'd pack everything in a box and off it went. And she did that very discreetly, so that, it was not seen or known by anyone else, but by just those people who needed it. So I learned from her that even if you think you don't have much, you always have something to give. Another thing that I learned from her was to cultivate yourself in the form of having a hobby. My mother's, I'll say, hobbies or activities that she did, she loves reading. Even till today, she reads her Bible every single day. That is, like, mandatory. But also on top of that, she'll have, like, I'll say, supplementary Bible books where she'll read about, let's say, the geography of the Bible or the food that was eaten in the days of, the Bible and so on. And she learned, like, she's always cultivating her mind and always growing till today. And I mean, this is someone now who's staying at home, who's retired. And in saying that, also, she always was, like, learning with doing stuff with her hands, whether it be gardening, planting outside, or knitting. I know she knitted, like, several jerseys for us. She knitted for my sister a jersey that she still wears today. Or, like, sewing. She bought this big sewing machine and she went to sewing classes about 10 years ago. And I think 2 years ago she started, like, some bead work where she does, like, beautiful bead jewelry. And she's saying that she wants to sell it in the market or so. So she's always cultivating herself and improving herself. Another thing that I learned from my mother is to be worldly and to also know what is happening around you. And really, she does that by just observing and watching the news and sport. And when we were in PE, recently there's been a surge in these abductions and kidnappings and of people. So we're talking about that and watching the news. And I noticed every time we pray, we have evening devotions. Like, she'd pray about all the things that concern about the world that are happening, whether it be coronavirus, whether it be, like, these kidnappings and, sex trafficking things, whether it be, like, corruption from the government. Like, she literally, like, it's not something that she talks about only, but the things that concerns her about the world, she prays about it. And for me, I was like, wow, we talk about politics and we talk about these things and we think that they don't affect us, but we truly do have the power to do something about it. And she prays about what concerns and worries her. And another thing, under being worldly and knowledgeable about what's happening around you, my mother knows a lot about sport. She has, like, a deep understanding when it comes to sport, which I completely lack. She understands soccer, tennis, rugby, I think a bit of Formula One, and yeah, if she had the time, I think more sports. And that has also come into play when like she's chatting with my husband. I know when they're chatting, they end up talking about soccer and this league and who's on the leaderboard and this. I know nothing about it, and for me, it shows that like a point of view of like wanting to know more and being worldly to a point where you can engage with people that are different from you, that have got other interests. So yeah, she's worldly in that sense. Another thing that I learned from her was how to be a homemaker. That your house is a place of sanctuary. That your house should be a representation of you, and it's not about money. It's about how you want to feel. It's about how when your family members and your children, your husband walk in, this is a place of relaxation. Like, what is the experience for them? What is the experience from you? Because the world outside is rough and hard, but when your family members and when you walk in and when your visitors walk in, what is the mood that they're feeling? Are they feeling welcomed? This is a place where they can like refresh, rejuvenate, be inspired to have ideas. Is it a place whereby they can just be themselves, because the world sometimes just doesn't allow us to be. So she really taught me the importance of your home is a place where it is your haven, and you should create an environment that is like completely like awesome to you and to your loved ones as well. And also about homemaking, she taught me that it's quite important, you know, food in the family meals are quite important, and the effort that you put in around like family time and meals is quite key, and the nourishment of yourself and your loved ones is quite key. So like my mother taught me that in your fridge there should always be a cooked meal. Like when people walk in your house, there should always be like food ready, or even like, for instance, I still do that whereby we always make sure that there's food that someone can just quickly prepare, whether it be leftovers or like something that they can quickly whip up in order to eat. That's quite key. Another thing that okay, yeah, so that is quite key. So there are several other things that I've learned that I'm not including in this video or I've missed out, but please do let me down below. What are the lessons that like you've learned from your mother that you've also carried on in your life? Please comment, subscribe, and like, and then we will meet in the next video.